Hello everyone, this is Samantha from the Dancing Soap Dish. Today's Easter project is showcasing a new soap colouring technique I've been working on. I'm calling it the sponged mica technique, and I used it to create these gorgeous rainbow Easter egg soap bars. If we look at a close-up of the bars, you can see the mica has a sort of mottled, dabbed effect. That's because I sponged the mica on and then I covered it with a layer of clear soap base. This clear soap base just protects it and gives it longevity. I won't tell you how many versions of these bars I've done over the past couple of weeks trying to perfect this technique, and even these ones aren't perfect. You can see a little smudge there. But I do know now how to prevent all the common mistakes and mishaps, so I'm going to share with you now the technique for sponged mica and also how to make these beautiful rainbow Easter egg soap bars. Let's go! So here is the silicone mould that I used. It's actually an Easter resin mould to make keychains, I think. And I'm going to do what I've done before and use paper cups to make this resin mould into a soap mould. So the paper cups just make the mould deeper, and then I can pour a bar of soap into it. So the first thing to do is to make a template of the circumference of the Easter eggs. You just need a sheet of paper. Mine's blue, just so you can see it clearly in the video. I've deliberately cut that line crooked because I want to be sure which line is the straight line. So, because the straight line goes down into the mold, and you just sort of bend the paper around the circumference of an Easter egg here. Just folding the paper up. It can be a bit tricky, but you only need to do it once, thank goodness. So just wrap the paper around and make sure that it's sitting flush with the edge of the mold. It needs to be the exact size. And then once you're happy that it's sitting properly and is the exact size, you just need to take a piece of sticky tape and tape it together. Once we've done that, we'll just double check that it's the right size. So pop it back in your mold and just check that you're happy with the size of your template, because next we'll be using it to measure and cut a paper cup to size. There we go. I'm happy with that. So next you need 4 paper cups. I'm only using 4 paper cups, even though I do have 8 egg-shaped molds. You'll see why as we progress. But make sure these paper cups are non-stick. You might need to do some testing first to make sure that your soap doesn't stick to them. There's no way of knowing by looking at a paper cup. You really just have to test it out and see. So I'm using the template that we just created to draw a line around this paper cup. I've just pushed the template down as far as it will go from the top of the paper cup, and I'm marking out a line that I will cut along. I'm going to do this to all 4 paper cups, and then I will take a retractable craft knife and I'm going to cut on the side of the line that has the base of the cup on it, because that's the part we're going to discard. So I'm not trying to cut on the line because I find that really difficult to do, and it needs to be quite accurate. So I'm just going to roughly cut off the base of this cup with the retractable craft knife, and then I will take a pair of scissors and cut more accurately along the line, just to make sure that I'm cutting nice and straight and I get the size perfect. So here are all 4 ready to go. Just make sure you check where your seam is. Line the inside seam of the paper cup up with the top of the egg. The seam of the cup will show up in the soap, so I find it's best to keep it at the top and it's just less visible there. As you can see, these paper cups are fitting in really easy. I'm just slotting them straight into the mold. See here how this egg is a different shape. Luckily enough, I did check it, and even though they are slightly different shaped eggs, they still have the exact same circumference. So you can still use the template that we used before, because that fits in there just fine. And that's how easy it is, just to create a template and measure and cut some paper cups to fit perfectly inside your mold. So this is the reason why I only used 4 cups, because we do have 8 eggs, but they're so close together. If I try and put another cup next to this one, I can't get them to fit. You can cut your paper cups down, cut the rim off and cut them down a little bit more and fit all 8 on. But I found it really fiddly and time consuming, so I'm just going to do it this way. Now for some soap. We're finally getting to the soap part. So the first thing I need to do is pour a small amount of soap into each mold cavity to seal the paper cup to the silicone mold. If I just poured my entire soap bar into the paper cup, the soap would absolutely leak out the gap between the paper cup and the mold at the bottom, and it would create a big mess. So I'm just weighing out 15 grams, because I figured out that each cavity holds 15 grams of white melt and pour soap base to seal the cups to the molds. So I need just 60 grams of soap plus a little bit extra for wastage. I'm going to melt that up really quickly. I've also scented it with an essential oil blend, and then I'm going to pop my mold with my paper cups in it on a scale so I can weigh out 15 grams of melted soap base into each one of these cavities. It won't take me very long to do it all because 15 grams is not much. I'm just resetting the scales to 0 in between pouring each cavity, and I'm also spraying the soap with isopropyl alcohol just to pop any bubbles that might be sitting on the surface. I now need to give that soap time to set. So I've set a timer for 15 minutes. And then after 15 minutes, when the soap is set, I'm going to pour an additional 30 grams into each paper cup. So 120 grams all up. Again, using the same system, putting the mold on a set of scales so I can evenly weigh out 30 grams into each cup. Spraying them with alcohol to get rid of any bubbles. And again, I will let those set probably for a good hour. Once they are touch dry, they still might be a little bit soft, but if they're dry to the touch or set to the touch, then you can take them out of the cups. So first of all, peel back the silicone mold. You can see the design of the Easter egg there. That's pretty cool. So I just need to keep peeling it back to release all the cups from the mold first off, and then I will remove the soaps from the cups so we can go ahead and pour the next 4 bars. So in order to do that, it's really quite easy. All you need to do is just take the mold and give it a bend, give it a flex, try and squeeze the paper cup so it comes away from the soap. As you can see, as I'm squeezing that, there's sort of a gap opening up around the side of the soap bar. And once you can see that gap opening up, you can, if you turn it over, you can see it from the other end as you look down into the cup. You can just push with your thumbs on the soap bar very gently and just pop the soap bar out. So I'm being very careful as I handle them because they are still quite soft. But I just wanted to release them from the paper cups as soon as I can. 1, because I need to reuse the paper cups, but 2, I find the longer you keep them in the paper cups, the greater the risk is that the paper cup will stick to it. So you really want to get them out of those paper cups ASAP. Here we go with our second bar. Again, using the same process as before, just gently bending and flexing the paper cup until a gap opens up in between the paper cup and the soap. And then once that gap is sort of opened up all the way around, I'm going to use my thumbs to gently push the soap bar out of the paper cup. Here's my third one. They are so pretty. And here's the final one. There we go. So I have 4 bars. I'm going to put them aside to let them set further because they're still quite soft. But in the meantime, I can take my paper cups and repeat the process to do the next 4 Easter egg soap bars. If you've got a little bit of soap stuck around the edge of the cup, just clean that up first. It's very easy just to scrape that off with your fingernail. And then I will pop them back into the molds, again lining up the inside seam of the paper cup with the top of the Easter egg. Once I've got all 4 paper cups secured back into the mold, I'm going to pour 15 grams into each cavity to seal the cup to the silicone mold. Don't forget to get rid of those bubbles. You don't want any bubbles. And then once they've set for 15 minutes, another 30 grams into each cavity to create 45 gram soap bars. And then after letting them set for a good hour or so, I will pop them out of the paper cups and we'll start with our decorating. So here are my 8 Easter egg soap bars ready to be decorated. I've also got the 6 pastel micas we mixed in my mica mixing video. I'll put a link in the description. I'm going to mix up some mica paint with each of these colors. I've got some glycerin and some isopropyl alcohol here, and I'm going to add 6 drops of glycerin to each colored mica, and I'm also going to add 3 drops of isopropyl alcohol to each colored mica. And I find this is just a really good combination to make a mica paint. I've also got some disposable lip gloss brushes that makeup artists use, but I'm going to be using them today to mix up my mica paint. I'm really loving these colors. They're just gorgeous. I've also got on hand these little finger sponges. I've got one for each color that I'll be using, and I'm going to apply a little bit of paint to each finger sponge and then dab it off on some paper towel just so that there's not too much paint on the end. And I'm going to sponge some mica paint onto this bar of soap in a rainbow pattern. I've also got an extra lip gloss applicator that I'm dipping into the isopropyl alcohol, which I can use to clean up any areas where I've gotten the mica paint on and I don't want the mica paint on it. And you can see as I'm working, a beautiful blended rainbow design is appearing on this Easter egg, and just bringing out the pattern that's on the Easter egg of the bunny with the little zigzag lines either side of it. I'm just giving it one final clean up, and we'll be able to see how it's going to look. And there it is. That's really, really lovely. Another technique you can use is actually applying the mica with the lip gloss brush first and then dabbing over it with the finger sponge. And I find this useful because it allows you to apply the mica more evenly. You don't end up with the mica thicker in some places and then thinner in other places. It's got a sort of like an even application all the way across the pattern, which is really, really good. And again, I'm just cleaning up any spills just to give it a tidy up. And that one is now finished too. Okay, so with this one with the little hearts on it, I'm doing, a similar sort of concept where I'm applying rainbow colors, but obviously I'm just going to do the hearts. I really want to show you how the finger sponge is good at giving the paint an even consistency. So I've just painted the hearts and I'm just going to leave them and we'll come back to them. In the meantime, I'll do another rainbow on this one down here. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm going back over here, and I don't know if you can tell because the camera's quite far away, but as I'm dabbing the colors, the consistency of the mica is improving. There's no darker blotches and lighter blotches. It's also brought out the shape of the hearts. It's managed to make sure that all the sharp corners and everything has got some mica on it, and it's really sort of bringing out the heart shape as well. I'm going to do the same here with the triangles. I will go back to the triangles in a minute and we'll see how they're brought out. In the meantime, I'm just doing another rainbow sort of concept over here. I really love how you can see the pattern on the soap coming to life as I add the color. You couldn't really tell what the pattern was on this before, but as I add all the beautiful colored mica, you can see the beautiful Easter pattern, the bunny, the flowers coming out. It really makes that pattern pop. Again, just giving it a bit of a clean up with the isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so I'm going back to these. See how I'm as I am dabbing over these colours here, they're becoming more uniform and the shape of the triangles is becoming more sharp. It's really, really amazing what these little finger sponges do. Okay, so for this bar, I'm going to sort of combine both techniques. I've got sort of separate blocks of colour, but then I'm also doing sort of a blended rainbow sort of design. Again, I am painting the mica on with my lip gloss brush and then going over it with the finger sponges just to bring out the colour, sharpen it up a bit better. I used the yellow first because I didn't want to get any green or orange on my yellow sponge because it's just really hard to sort of get that colour off when you're using yellow. And finally, a different technique for this one. I want a beautiful rainbow at the top. I'm going to do some rainbow colours, but then I want the bottom half of the bar to be blocked off as a certain colour. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the paper towel to screen off the bar that I don't want to get any of the mica on with my finger sponge. There we go. So I've got sort of a rainbow starting up the top. And now I will go and put on some purple. I'm going to paint this area here with the blue and with the green. Much easier to paint these areas with the lip gloss brush and then sponge over them than to try and get the colour on initially with just the finger sponge. So using a combination of techniques really helps you bring out the designs as well. And there they are. Okay, here are my 8 beautifully coloured Easter eggs. Now it's time to bring back the paper cups because I need to do a clear layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the paper cups back over the eggs so I can pour a clear layer over the top to protect the mica because it is just mica paint. Once it's dry, I'll be able to wipe it off with my finger, and I don't want to go to all the trouble of making these beautiful coloured eggs and then having them all be smudged in 5 minutes of use. Okay, some things I want to mention before we start. I have left these to dry overnight. So this is the next day. This mica is really dry. If your mica is wet at all or not fully set, hasn't fully dried out, and you pour clear melt and pour soap base over it, it will smudge, it will run. Absolutely. Also, you'll notice that there's no alcohol here. I'm not going to pre-spray my bars with alcohol. Again, alcohol will wet the mica and the mica will run. So I've got some clear melt and pour soap base here. Make sure you don't overheat it or it will be cloudy. I haven't scented it in this case because I figure there's enough fragrance in the white soap bars. I really don't need any more scent. So this is unscented clear soap base. I'm weighing out 20 grams into each paper cup and I'm going to pour it onto the spoon. I'm not pouring it directly onto my egg. What I want to do is I want to pour it on the spoon and have the spoon to direct it down the side of the cup and then carefully cover the mica paint on the egg. I'm actually going to put them all on the scale at once because I really don't like having to move them after I've poured them. I don't want to risk them getting wrinkly. Okay, so I'm going to pour this in here. Oh, see there, I made a mistake. I didn't direct the soap down the edge of the paper cup and it's fallen directly onto the blue mica there and it's smudged. So be a little bit more careful here. I am pouring it onto the spoon and then using the spoon to direct it down the side of the paper cup, and then it will flow quickly over the surface of the egg, and therefore I am able to put a layer that will cover it without smudging it. Okay, if you do have some bubbles, you can spray them with alcohol after the egg's fully covered, but certainly don't get any alcohol on that mica beforehand. Okay, yep, they're looking good except for that one that's smudged. Now it's been about an hour later and they're all set, still a bit soft but set. And again, I'm having to extract them from the paper cup because I need my paper cups to do the next 4. I'm doing what I did before, just sort of making a gap around the edge, turning it over and just pushing the soap bar out. So there we go. That one's a bit smudgy, but it's done. It's still quite beautiful. I'm just using my thumb here to create a gap between the soap and the cup, and then I can gently push out the next one. Oh wow, look at that. That one is stunning. Really, really beautiful, that one. Here's another one. Again, no smudgies, which is great. That one came out perfect too. So I'm really happy with those. And as you can see, as long as you don't let the soap pour directly onto the mica, you shouldn't have any smudges. So it's time to do the next 4. Again, I'm just going to carefully reposition the paper cups back over the soaps in the opposite direction to before. There we go. And then basically this just stops the clear soap base running everywhere when I pour it in. As I said before, I have made these many times over, and I've experimented with different ways to get a clear layer of soap over the top, and this by far is the easiest and most effective and the less smudgy way to do it. So again, I've put all 4 bars on top of my scales because I'm weighing out 20 grams of clear soap base. Just because I want my soaps all to be uniform in weight. That's why I weigh everything out, and then they all sort of look the same. Otherwise they'll all be all different shapes and sizes. Okay, so pour it onto the spoon and down the side of the cup. That was a really good example there. You could see it moving across the mica, but it hasn't smudged it at all. Here's another one. These are coming out so great. I'm so happy with these. If you saw some of the catastrophes I've had trying to make these soaps, you'd be as happy as I am too. There we go. Like I said, if you need to get rid of any bubbles, you can very lightly spray with alcohol, but only after the mica is covered with a full layer of soap. Okay, and this last one here. Oh, my soap's starting to harden. I think I got a big blob there. So yeah, I'm going to have to spray this one because I just want to, to get that soap to level out a bit. There we go. That'll just have to do. Beautiful. Okay, guys. Going to let these set for another hour and then extract them from the paper cups. This is the last time we need to use the paper cups. So if you wanted to, you could just use a pair of scissors to cut these open and tear them out of the paper cups. But I wanted to keep my paper cups. You never know when you might want them again. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial for rainbow Easter egg soap bars, as well as the new sponged mica technique I shared with you today. Keep an eye out. There'll definitely be more videos coming on that technique. If you like what we do here at the Dancing Soap Dish, please like and subscribe, and you can also follow us on socials. Thanks guys, happy Easter and enjoy!